All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me. I just have a few questions, and we'll just run through. So the first one is just tell us about your journey, your
Music.
artistic journey, music journey, artistic journey. You can. It's up to you if you want to focus just on Carnatic music or if you want to go broader. But just
Sounds good.
yeah.
So for me, well, both of us started learning Pato when we were around 5 and 4-ish,
I guess I
respectively.
kind of just tagged along.
Yeah, it was
to
me
the
mainly
first few
going to
lessons.
class, and Malavi would come along, and then we both started learning together. So pretty young age, and both of our parents teach music, and at that point we're singing around the house as well. So it's always been something that's been instilled in us. But we started going to lessons with Shamla, Auntie Shamla and Artisaman here in Richmond. At that time, I was also learning classical piano, and Malavi started learning Western violin. Then I also jumped in and learned Western violin. So we really love all different types of musics, and we like using different types of music to influence the way we think about other types of music. It's just something that we really appreciate because I'm a lover of music in general. Then when I was in fourth grade and she was in second or third grade, we started learning Carnatic violin as well, kind of adapting what we learned from our Western classical violin training to the Indian style, and then that kind of grew as well. And up until now, we've been doing more concerts. Started going to India when I was in 2013 for the past few years, apart from this year. So that was just kind of like our foot into the amateur Carnatic music performing scene. Definitely not professionals, but getting the chance to perform is really a good way to keep up with the skill and like keep up with thinking about it and having it be a part of your life beyond that Arangetram 12th grade closing the chapter kind of deal. Do you have anything to add?
Oh, that sums it up pretty well.
Oh, and both of us did a cappella in college too. So we also love to sing like pop music, Western music, classical music, the whole gamut. We're into it. So it's kind of like a very pared down version of our music journey.
Thank you. What made you decide to kind of stay with it beyond high school and keep pursuing it after?
I think a big part of it was our parents' like initiative. I think they like recognized, like, I think it's always like when you're a younger kid, like you have some sort of hesitation, pushback to like pursuing. Like, I mean, we even had it ourselves, like, because parents are so passionate about their children, especially when they're in America, wanting to like pursue these arts further. It's almost like a natural inclination to want to push back on that. So, we have to credit them for like motivating us and pushing us, even when they could sense that, like, especially when we were younger, like we would like always want to listen to the pop music and always want to like westernize like the art that we listen to and all of that kind of stuff. So I definitely like credit them for being a big reason as to why we continued with it beyond like our engagement and beyond college and all that stuff.
Yeah, and to add on to that a little bit, I think a lot of, hopefully kids are watching this and young learners are watching this, and I'm sure they can all relate to the kind of drudging nature of going to Pata class or dance class or what have it. You like it, but it's not, you don't really feel that passion, but you see your parents or other people really being excited about it and you don't get it. And my recommendation is just stick with it, because the older you get, the more you realize like how special it is that these art forms are. And so once you kind of get to that stage where you're like, whoa, like this is actually super cool. And a lot of people would, like a lot of my friends in college were like wishing they had that kind of exposure and experience, because it was something unique that I could bring to even like a Western classical or Western singing setting. Stick with it, because then it's really, really valuable skills in a lot of different ways, and kind of keeps you grounded and keeps you tied to your roots and background, even when you grow up here. And once you start to perform more and more, I feel like performance is like the most exciting part about this whole thing. So taking what you've learned in class, and so doing those kacheris in India, and even performing in things like ICAPS and things around Richmond, it gets you like, it's almost electrifying, even if it doesn't seem that way, to be on stage and finally actually get to showcase your skills, and the little bit of nerves, like it just makes it really, it makes it a lot more enjoyable, because you finally feel like, okay, these classes have gone to something. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely, I would encourage people to try and seek out any performance 5 minutes to 2 hours that you can do, because the more you put yourself out there, the more you get excited about it, even if it's scary, and then you start liking it more and more.
Um, can you pinpoint a time or when it switched from, hey, my parents really enjoy this, to I really want to keep doing this?
It's a good question.
Such a good question.
Well, for me, I feel like it was pretty easy. It was late in the game, but it was probably that first winter that we went to India and performed in the Chennai Margari season. I remember I didn't really understand the gravity of it, or really how big and exciting of a time that is to be in Chennai. And it's just like an electric music festival, and there's music nonstop. And I don't think I really, after the first one, it was so nerve wracking and we were so not looking forward to doing it. Then after that first one, where there's probably a ton of mistakes, but it felt like, wow, we sat there, we did the 2 hour thing, and it felt really like good, and you felt like you accomplished something. Then afterwards, even though before every concert you get that nerves, it kind of, once I went abroad and like did something beyond the art and Gaitram, it started to feel a lot more real, and it became so much more enjoyable, because not only are you singing for yourself, you're actually singing for others, and hopefully they're enjoying it.
I think mine, I can't really pinpoint an exact moment. I feel like for me, it was a lot more gradual, because for me, it was a lot of like a battle with confidence, like especially with Manodharmam, like the creative aspects, like that always came to Maya like super naturally. And like I was always like such a like memorize this and then sing it exactly sort of person. So like, and that's a great, amazing thing about Indian art that is another thing that helped me appreciate a lot more, is like how much of it is creative focused and like interpretive and like on the spot. And like I always struggle with all of that. So I think by practicing performing, doing all these kacheris in India, like doing performances in Richmond, like I built confidence over like the last 5 to 6 years, like over the last like several years we've been performing like more seriously. And I think for me that's been like just a transformative period in general for being like less hesitant, because I felt more comfortable with doing all of these like creative things that like scared me a lot initially.
That's awesome. What advice do you have for, kids who are learning today? They might be middle school, high school, and then they're trying to figure out what they're gonna, what they're gonna do with this.
So I would say, kind of, I know I mentioned it earlier, but try to seek out performance opportunities where you can. Again, even if it's the 5-minute slot at Tyagarajotsam, or if you get the opportunity to perform for something like ICAPS, take those opportunities, because I'll be the first to put my hand up and say, like, Malavi and I are not the most naturally driven practicers, and we see a lot of students who are really methodical and really good about it, and we are 1,000,000% not those people. And I know that there are probably kids in the community who feel the same way, but giving yourself goals like performances, small or large, is a really good motivator, because no one wants to mess up on stage. And I have enough times where I always feel like, oh man, I should have practiced more or done a better job. And even if you're not, like, even before performances, it's not like Malavi and I are singing, like doing the Manodharmam meticulously or trying to practice and memorize everything. We're really just syncing up songs and making sure we've got the whole package covered. But you do, when you're preparing for something like that, you are thinking about it a lot more, and you're getting into a good headspace. So, and what Malavi said about especially the creative aspect is so true. It's really not about practicing and memorizing the ragam or the swaram or the nadaval. It's more about practicing the art of being spontaneous on stage. So, we don't really go before a concert and think, okay, how are we going to sing this ragam or alapana? We're thinking, okay, we've done this enough times extempore on stage that it's easy now. It's easy to go up there and just do what your mind wants you to. So practicing it's weird, but practicing being spontaneous comes with putting yourself out there and just throwing yourself on stage.
Definitely.
Do you have any advice?
That was going to be my advice, is like, I mean, no, but it's good advice. That's why I was going to say it too. Like, put yourself in situations where you're uncomfortable as much as possible, because then it will start to feel normal. And then I guess like on a more kind of, it sounds like obvious advice, but really pay attention, because I can't speak for dance, but for Carnatic music, like the level of nuance is like extraordinary. Like the difference between singing something like straight and then singing with the gamakam, like is the difference between two entirely different scales sometimes. So like really pay attention. Like if your teacher is telling you to add something here or not do something here, like make sure you embody those and like internalize those, and really pay attention to like what makes a ragam, or like what makes a scale like special apart from its notes. My dad always talks about this. He's like, the connections between the notes matter so much more than the notes themselves.
And I like the way you said, like, it's not, don't like pay attention to those and memorize, like think about those gamakams, but don't memorize them. Like think about why that makes it feel, like makes you feel some way when you're listening to that ragam, because that's what's you're not gonna remember, okay, in this song, like it's hard to memorize in this song, do this exact little thing. But if you internalize it, you'll know how to do it you can take that thing that you learned and put it in your alapana or your swaram or your neraval. Like, it's like understanding what makes it special and then infusing that with everything that you're doing.
Yeah, and just making sure it's an honest and proper interpretation of the scale. So I guess that also comes with listening a lot, which our parents just sang so much around the house when we were younger that I like, and like obviously taught us and like drilled some of these into us, that like we learned like those proper nuances, or we're still learning, but like that's how we did. So like listening is really important too.
Awesome. Tell us about the pieces you've chosen for your performance for ICAPS.
Yeah, so we start with Darbar Varnam.
Yeah.
So all of these pieces are actually, none of them, we didn't learn anything new for this. They're just things that we've done in the past couple of years in the Margari seasons that we've been able to perform in. So the first one, yes, was the Darbar Varnam, which is a personal favorite of mine. I love that ragam. And if you want a ragam that's chock full of gamakams, like you cannot sing Darbar properly without those like weighty gamakams, like really typical, true Carnatic heavyweight type of ragam. That's got it in there, so it's fantastic. The next one was
Jaya Jaya, right?
Yeah, Jaya 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 Janaki. So it's in Nate, also a nice, always a great starting ragam. And I know they use it a lot in dance, of course, and it's just like, I don't know, it also just it feels so like home to me. Like it's just like, again, a really good, beautiful Carnatic ragam.
It's also, that one is in Kanda Chapu, right?
Yeah,
so it's in like a 5-beat talam, so it's just kind of like brisk and like lightweight and fast and fun.
Yeah, and the end of the song, does it have a Samashri Charanam, or is it no, the Charanam has like a fast, both the Anupallavi and Charanam have like nice fast-paced parts at the end with the words that keep it really brisk. So it's just a fun song.
Yeah. Ranjanini.
Yeah,
so the third one is Ranjanini. Who was the composer again?
G.N. Balasubramanian. Yeah. So GNB, he was like a famous singer back at 1900s. I'm just gonna say 1900s generally.
Safe answer.
You can't go wrong. Watch it be like 1899, but in the 1900s. And he's like a more modern. He's more of a singer and performer, but he composed a few songs, and it's a pretty rare kriti. And Ranjani is like, I feel like way different than the first two ragams that we chose. It's just like, it's sad and beautiful and like very, very quirky in the way the scale goes.
The scale is very like specific.
So it's one where you have to be super careful and intentional about what you're doing, because if you mess up, it's very dependent on the order of the notes. You can't go from one note to another note just willy-nilly. So you have to be careful about what you're doing in that one. So it's a tricky one, but it's also a good representation of the quirkiness of some of the ragams in Carnatic music.
Like the asymmetry is something that makes it difficult, but it's like so beautiful. I love Ranjani.
Yeah, it's one of her favorites. I like it too, but she's very passionate about it.
And then the last one we did, Tilana, I cannot remember what it was.
Gita Duniku.
Yes.
I'm going to butcher the pronunciation. Gita Duniku, and it's Tilana in Beamfloss.
Yes.
Similar to Karnataka Deva Gandhari, Aberi. There's a lot of controversy about what's the real proper name of the ragam, but it's in Beamfloss ragam, and it's just,
it's more of like a light, like I'd say more leaning towards Hindustani-esque sort of scale. It's a nice like way to finish it off. Like I think it's always nice to end with a like more lighter, like more Hindustani sort of raga, especially with like Dilanas.
Yeah, Dilanas are also always a really good way to wrap something up. It's just fun and fast. But I love that. That's one of my favorite Dilanas.
It's really pretty.
So nice. But yeah, those are the 4 songs that we're performing.
Awesome. Are there any other projects that you've got going on right now that you want to share with us?
Yeah, actually, we do have something that both Malavi and I planned. So kind of like what you were saying about ICAPS, like trying to figure out like how to, because of quarantine, how to kind of replicate what you would have been doing in person. Malavi and I, we've been really moved by a lot of the things going on in our country right now with the Black Lives Matter movement and a lot of just upheaval, necessary upheaval, I think, that's been going on in the community. So we wanted to use this small little Carnatic community that we have in Richmond to try and make a difference. So in the light of the canceling of Tyagaraja Utsavam and some of the programs that would have happened in person, we thought it'd be interesting to do a Zoom version of that and collect donations and fees for participants. So all participants of all ages and skill level, Carnatic musicians and students in the Richmond area to partake in a Zoom day for Carnatic music. It's called Carnatic Musicians for Change. And then all of the proceeds are going to 4 organizations that are dedicated to helping Black people in our community and in the United States. So that's happening on Saturday, July 25th, and we're conducting it all virtually. So fingers crossed that it goes as seamlessly as possible. Yeah. Obviously, we'd love for it to actually be in person, but we thought it'd be a good way to not only raise money for really good causes, but also educate and learn as a community on some of these issues that I think we regrettably don't know enough about. Mm-hmm. So we're also really excited because we're gonna have some of our friends and family who are very involved in this social movement talk about their perspectives, and they're going to talk about the spaces that they work in and the things that they've been doing, and kind of educate all of us as a whole in different aspects of the Black Lives Matter movement and what's going on in our nation. It's really important, I think, for all of us to learn about that and hopefully be impacted by it. So it's kind of our little project that we have going on for the summer, and we're really excited about it.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. I think art always has had a space to make change.
Absolutely.
And I think when we've got to, I think oftentimes when we start learning early on, it's like, okay, I have to go to class now, and then I'm learning.
Yeah, exactly.
But the more you dive into the history of a lot of the music and pieces that, and especially because we take from the Carnatic music body for many of the South Indian dance forms. If you dive into the songs and the composers, a lot of this music was written during volatile times, and it was a message of change. So I think it's perfectly fitting into what's going on today.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly put. Because music is really a vehicle for change, and I think that's what kind of sparked our idea for it, is thinking, I think everything that's going on, you're really reflecting on what's my space, where can I use my platform, however small it is. And at a certain point, posting on my Facebook or Instagram wasn't really like hitting it for me. So I was like, what can we do? And I was like, well, we've always been a part of this Carnatic community, and it's always been really tightly knit around this art form. And it is crazy how you would think that, how is Carnatic music related to this movement? But really the parallels and what you're talking about is far more connected than we could think. So hopefully we're able to bring people together and make a difference, even if it's just a small amount of money that we can donate to a few good causes and all learn. So hopefully it'll be good.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time. And we will have this interview up on the ICAPS Facebook page and YouTube channel, and the performance will be put up next Saturday at 10 Eastern, I'm thinking.
Thank you so much, and thanks to ICAPS for giving us this opportunity. We always appreciate a chance to sing for everybody, so thank you very much.
Thank you.